Good morning, students. Today we are going to start database connectivity. That is, in our course curriculum of class 12th, we have a topic where we connect Python with MySQL. Students, in the previous given video, you have seen how MySQL works. You now understand that we can create database, we can create tables, we can keep records in the tables using insert command. If need be, we can delete record, update record. All these things are easily done in MySQL. But students, this video is actually to take use of MySQL from Python. That is, we shall be writing Python codes, and these Python codes would connect to MySQL and do the work in MySQL. So, Python's connectivity with MySQL. Now, students, we'll see how this connectivity is done. So, we will start this chapter by first seeing the prerequisites that are to be maintained before starting actual connectivity. Now, students, in Python, if you want to connect MySQL, you have to first install the software, I should say the module, which actually supports connectivity between Python and MySQL. It is known as Database API, that is DB API. API stands for Application Program Interface. So there should be a software, there should be a module which actually acts as a bridge. It acts as an interface between Python and MySQL. So let us see how we actually install that module first, and what is the name of that module. Students, the name of the module is MySQL Connector. And how shall we install it? To install it, we go to command prompt. Students, I have already opened command prompt here, see. So this is the command prompt, and you can well see where we are within that command prompt. We are at the same directory where Python 3.8 has been installed. So we have installed Python 3.8. We know we need to install Python before using it. So in which directory we have installed it? We have installed it in Python 3832 directory. So I have moved into Python 3832 directory, and now I will write the command. That is the first requisite, that is the first requirement which we should do while we are going to work with connectivity. Now, how that command is written, what is the statement written for that command, let us see. So the statement written for that command is this. We write Python, see it is in capital letters, let us write it in small letter. We write Python -m pip install. What to install? The module that is actually required to connect Python with MySQL. And what is that module's name? It is MySQL connector. See students, because of space, it went into the second line, but it is a single line. So Python -m pip install MySQL connector. MySQL connector is the module. It is the database API to connect MySQL with Python. And what is the full form of pip? It is Python installer package. It actually helps to install modules of Python in your computer. Now, if I run it, actually, it is already there in my computer. If you had run it in your computer, it would have installed MySQL connector. But in my case, as we already have MySQL installed in it, it will show that things are already present. How it shows? Let us see. I will press the enter key. So I press the enter key. See what happens. See, it writes requirements already satisfied. That means this package, this given module has already been installed. It is there in my computer. So for me, it was not the prerequisite, because I have already installed it previously. But for you all, this is one-time requirement. Whenever you need to connect Python with MySQL, you should first install MySQL connector module. And as I said, what is MySQL connector module? MySQL connector module is a database API, that is database application program interface. This actually is the middle program. This is the middle program, means it is the bridge between Python and MySQL. It helps to connect Python with MySQL. Now students, MySQL is not only a database, it is also to be named as backend, because it is the storehouse of all the data now. Whatever you create, the database you create, the table you create, the data you keep, that is the records you keep, they are all stored in MySQL. It is in the backend. And Python now becomes the front end. Why? You will directly work in Python, and whatever you do using Python, that actually will actually happen in MySQL. So MySQL is at the back, Python is at your front. So Python is your front end, it is working with you, it is interacting with you, and data is actually being saved in the backend, that is MySQL. So this is said to be the way how we work using connectivity. Databases are at the backend, and program APIs, that program which work for you, that is this Python program which works for you, that is at the front end. So I think students, you have understood. So let us close this. We have already seen that my MySQL connector module is already installed, so no need for me, but for you all, it is one-time need. It is one-time requirement. You should install it first before starting the chapter connectivity. So I minimize it. Let us now understand the second requisite. To connect Python with MySQL, both Python and MySQL should be open. So let us now open MySQL. So I am opening MySQL here, students. So it is asking for the password. I know the password here. I will give it for me. But for you all, you need to give your passwords. And when you give these passwords, when you actually make these passwords, whenever you install MySQL, you give a password. And that password has to be now given when you want to open MySQL. So as I gave the right password, MySQL is open for me. The MySQL prompt is being shown. You can work here, you know how to work here. You will write something and it would work. For example, if you write show databases, it will start showing the database. But here you are working directly in MySQL. But today's topic is, we are not to work in MySQL directly. We are to try writing codes in Python, and that code would do the work for me in MySQL. So Python and MySQL are somehow connected to each other today. But what we have done till now, we have installed MySQL connector, we have opened MySQL here, but we now need to open what? We need to open Python. So I go to Python and I open Python. So MySQL is also open, Python is also open. Students, to connect MySQL with Python, MySQL should be open and Python should also be open. Now, so I have come to Python. Now we will understand how to write code, or I should say, what should we write in Python so that it works in MySQL. Our first project would be, we will try to create a new database in MySQL from Python. So let us see how we create this new database from Python, and it actually gets created in which software? In MySQL. So let us open the script mode. We'll open the script mode here. So my script mode is open and we shall start writing. Students, we shall write each and every line one by one and we will understand each line while we write. The first line for connecting MySQL with Python is, we write import MySQL dot connector as, anything you can write, as MS. So you write MySQL dot connector as MS. Now students, MySQL dot connector is the module which we installed. We need to import this module for our program. And after we imported this module for our program, we are giving it a small name, a short name, MS, for us to use. We will not write MySQL dot connector, MySQL dot connector, MySQL dot connector everywhere henceforth. We will write a shorter name of it, which we have given here in this program, and it is MS. So we have imported the module. Now we all know, if you ask a question, why sir we have imported this module? The answer is, we have imported this module because this is a very important module whenever we want to connect Python with MySQL. This module helps us to connect Python with MySQL. Now students, I am doing something which I will do, but it is not your requisite. Why I am doing it? Because I am showing this video in the public, so I will not reveal my password. What I have done is, I have put my password in a Python file P, and I'll use this file P to put the password. Where to put the password? Which password? So for that, I'll show you. I'm trying to now connect Python with MySQL. So I'm writing the statement to connect Python with MySQL. In the previous two lines, I have imported P. P contains a password, which is a requisite for me. It may not be a requisite for you. If you want to show the password to the world, you can directly write the password, but I want to hide it from the world. So I have kept it in a file P, a Python file P, a Python script file P, and I'll use it from there. But the first line, import MySQL.connector, is a very important requisite. It should be written by everyone who wants to connect Python with MySQL. And I have said why it is required, because it is the module which helps to connect Python with MySQL. Without this module, connectivity is impossible. Connectivity cannot be done between Python and MySQL. Now, we have taken my requisite, we have taken our requisite MySQL.connector. It is now within our namespace. It is here to help us, but we should actually write the line which will do the connection. How do we write that line which will do the connection? We'll write ms dot. What is ms? That is MySQL.connector, which is written in short as ms. ms dot connect. So it is ms dot connect. What to connect? We want to connect MySQL. And why MySQL is going to be connected? Because we are using ms, and ms means what? MySQL.connector. So it becomes MySQL.connector.connect. That means connect me to MySQL. Connect Python to MySQL. So ms.connect. And which MySQL to connect? The details I am giving here. The MySQL which is in my own computer. So I am writing MySQL whose host is my own computer, and my own computer's name is localhost. If I had to connect to a server, I would have given the IP address of the server, but here I am to connect to my own computer, so I am giving my localhost. Now in this, which user to connect? So I'll write user is equal to, which user to connect? User is equal to root to connect. And what is the password of root? So the password of root is p dot, that is p file which I had created, pass. I have made a variable there where I have initialized that variable with the password. So I am only writing from p file, whatever the variable pass contains, please equalize it to passwd. and I close it. I could have given the database name here, but I'll not give because I don't know myself now which database I want to connect or use. Maybe I want to make a new database, as I said. So I'll close it. As I close it, my work of writing the statement which will connect actually Python to MySQL is over. Now what it means? It means I have said MySQL.connector, please connect me to that MySQL which is in my own computer, that is whose host is equal to localhost, and within that MySQL I want to connect to which user, I want to use which user, I want to use the user which is root and has a following password, that is it has that password which is written in p.pass. Now students, if this program runs, the connection would be established. There would be no problem in connecting. The connection would be established. So this is how we make the connection. The connection gets established. But after connecting, we need to do some work. Now, whenever we want to do some work in Python and want it to happen in MySQL, we need to have a cart type of thing. I am saying cart means a vehicle which will move between Python and MySQL and do the work. Suppose I have two given buildings. One building's name is, I'm giving a real life example, don't connect and relate it to technically to Python. I'm talking of a real life example. Suppose I have two buildings. One building's name is MySQL. Another building's name is Python. Now I want to carry, say, potatoes from Python building to MySQL building. So I need a carrier. I need either a rickshaw or an auto rickshaw, or I need a truck, or maybe if the building is far away, I may need a goods train to carry. So I need a carrier. Therefore, I'm saying I need a carrier, or I'm saying a small cart I need. Cart, cart is also a sort of carrier. So when in a real life situation, if I need a carrier to carry something from my building Python to my building MySQL, in the same way, in this world of computer science also, I need something to carry the data from Python to MySQL or from MySQL to Python. This given carrier in our world of computers, when we are talking of Python and MySQL connectivity, this given carrier is known as cursor. This is you can think it of as a placeholder which actually carries the thing from Python to MySQL or from MySQL to Python. So we have to make something called cursor. So I'm now writing the line which will create my, I should say, goods train. You may think of auto rickshaw. It will create that given vehicle which will help to move the data from one building to another building. I should say data from Python to MySQL or MySQL to Python. And what is the name of that given vehicle? Technically, it is known as cursor. So I'm writing mycur. So mycur is equal to what I want to make. I want to make a cursor. So I'll write mycur is equal to mycon dot cursor. This line will actually make the vehicle, make the carrier vehicle. So it is a very important line. Without this given cursor, we cannot move data from Python to MySQL or from MySQL to Python. So two important lines, students, you have understood just now. Now, what it means to do anything in MySQL from Python, my cursor should be active. It should start working. So we'll see how cursor starts working. There is a function called execute. Whatever you want to be done in MySQL, you have to use execute function to do it. How do we do it? Suppose I want to make a database there. So I'll write mycur, name of the cursor is mycur dot execute. What to execute? Maybe I want to execute this line, create database, give a name to the database, say the name to the database is employee det, that is employee details database. It is not a table, it is a database. We'll then write the table within that database. So I want to create the database. What is the name of the database? The database name is employee det. Now I close it. So this is the line which we'll write. What would this line do? This line will create the database employee det. Now suppose when it executes, we imagine that it gets created. What would be the next thing I want to do? I may want to create a table in that database. Even to create the table, I will use execute command, because without cursor nothing is possible. So we'll write, so anything you want to do in MySQL from Python, you'll have to use cursor, and within cursor which function? Execute function. If I write create table emp, and suppose I give the details here as employee number, say first attribute is employee number, and employee number is of which type? Suppose it is of integer type. Then we have say name, and name is of which type? Say name is varchar type. Suppose it has a width of 30 characters. Then suppose we have salary, and salary is of which type? Salary is of say decimal type. You know these types, you'll have to learn this for board exam. 8,2. My previous video has these details. So we have this given thing. So I have created a table here. I want to create a table here, and I have written everything which is required to create the table. So what is the statement I have written? I have written create table emp, employee number integer, name varchar 30, salary decimal. The spelling of decimal is wrong, students. Let us correct it. So it is decimal now. And I close it. Now students, see. What do we see? Whenever you use the execute command, you get a power. What is that power? You can use SQL statements in Python within that execute function. So whatever you learned for MySQL can be used here also. And how we use it? We use it within which given command? We use it within execute function. So I think students have understood that within execute function you have to write SQL statements, and whatever you write will actually work in MySQL. And where we are residing now, where this program is being written, it is being written in Python. So from Python we are actually controlling MySQL. We are controlling which given user of MySQL? Root. Where is root? Root is in local computer. That means in the same computer where we are writing Python. Suppose this given table gets created. Now if it gets created, I want to insert a record. Again, to insert a record, what we'll write? The same given statement we'll use, because without execute nothing works. Whatever you want to write for MySQL to work, it should be within execute. So here I'll write insert into which given table? EMP table. What to insert? Values. What values to insert? Say employee number. Say I inserted this employee number. Then I'll insert name. Say name is here. Then I shall insert a salary. Say I insert some salary here. So these are the three things. I close, put a semicolon, and I close this. Suppose these are the three things which I want to do. So what are the three things which I want to do? I want to create a database employee date. I want to create a table EMP within it. I want to put these values there in that table. Now, as I put the values there, I would say that I have completed the task, 3 tasks today. That is, created a database employee DAT, then created a table, then put a record, inserted a record there. All this would happen when actually I do my work. What work? When actually I execute this given Python program. Now, before executing, I will write one statement here. See, what is this statement? It is mycon.commit. What it means? Commit means that whatever I said from Python to MySQL, please make it permanent. Please do it. Please make it permanent. There is another statement, students, which we give, that is known as rollback. What rollback does? Whatever work we have done till now, that work, I say, don't make the work permanent. Please revert back from the work. Please think those works to be, please make those work undone. If it had been done in Python, if it had been done in MySQL from Python, please delete it. Please remove it. Please make it undone. These all things would be done when we use rollback. So 2 statements are there. One is commit, another is rollback. Rollback is just opposite to commit. Commit means make the changes permanent, make it done, and rollback means make it undone. If it has been done, please revoke from there. Please revert it. Understood? But we never use in our given class 12, we don't use rollback every now and then, but commit we use, so that whatever work we have done, that gets made permanent, that becomes permanent. So my work is complete. A good citizen would now close the connection. So I'll close the connection, and this is done. Now I have made this program. I will again give the details of each line. First line actually imports MySQL.connector. It is a very much needed thing. It is a very important requisite. It should be imported, and before importing it should have been installed, as I showed you. If it is imported, then only connectivity can be done. Second point, import P is whatever I did. If you had some password which you wanted to show to the user, you could have directly written that password within passwd equals to, but I don't want to show, so I kept the password in a file, and I'm using that file to give the password. Now, where is the password required? It is required whenever we want to connect, actually write the statement to connect Python to MySQL. What is that statement? We write mycon is equal to ms.connect. ms is the short name of MySQL.connector, which we have used for this given program. So I have written ms.connect, which MySQL to connect, whose host is localhost, whose user is root, and password is equal to p.pass. Now connection enough is not a connection. If we do the connection, if it is successful, good enough, but it is not the only thing that will help. We need a cursor also. As I said, cursor is like a vehicle which will help us. So we need to create the cursor. This is the third line for everyone, and fourth line for this program which I have written. Now mycur is equal to mycon.cursor. So this line actually creates the cursor, and then after the cursor is created, we are ready and set to go ahead. We'll use .execute, 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 that is mycur.execute, and whatever we want, we'll write those SQL statements here, and they would work in MySQL. After all the things have been written, to make the changes permanent, the changes that the above lines, above SQL statements bring, if I want to make them permanent, we'll write mycon.commit. If we want only to write it, but we don't want it to be made permanent, we'll write mycon.rollback. But it is of no use then. These all lines above is of no use. So we should write mycon.commit, and then we should close the connection. So this is how it is done. So students, I think you have understood. Let us save this file. So when I save this file, what is the name that I will give? Let us give the name my first connection, my first connection, that is my first con, and I save it. After saving it, we need to run it. So let us go to run it. So I'll write F5. See students, before running it, I want to show you something. I'll go to MySQL, and what I'll do is I'll show you in MySQL. I would go to MySQL and I'll show you within MySQL that we don't have any given. How I'll show you? I'll write show databases. I'll show you that we don't have any given database in MySQL which is employee det. See, these are the database which we have. We have information schema, class 12, experiment first. But do you see any database which has the name employee det? It is not there, students. But as soon as that program runs, what will happen? As soon as that program runs, that database would get created. So let us try to run the program. So I started, but it is showing a syntax error. Why it is showing the syntax error? Let us see. I wrote insert into EMP values. So maybe let us give double quotes and see now. Let us again press F5. Now it works. Now no database selected. So students, where we have made the mistake? See, we created the database, but we have not used one line which we always use in MySQL. So which line? Let us see. First come to MySQL and see that this given program might have created that database. Show databases. See, employee details, see, it is created. But what we have not done is, we have not used a very important line. That line is use employee det in our Python code. If we don't use employee det in Python code, what would happen? It will never start working, will not go into that database, so no table would be created. So again we shall go in the Python code and change it, and before changing it, I will delete the database. So drop database. Which database? Employee det. So this database has been dropped. Now why I dropped? Because again when that Python code would work, it will again create that employee det database. So as it is now dropped, if you want to see the databases, you will find that it is again not there in my list. So it is dropped from here. I will go to the code. Which code? The Python code here, and one more line is required here. And what is that line? We'll write mycur.execute. Which line? Use employee det. Use employee det. Now instead of det, I am writing set. So let us write det. So employee det should be opened first, and then I want these works to be done. So now again I save this file, save, and now I run it. So I go to F5 and see it works. Now no errors. Now how can you see that it gives no errors? When this Python code works, no errors means nothing would be shown, because I have not written any print statement to show here. So nothing is being shown, but within what has happened? The work has been completed in MySQL. We can go to MySQL and see whether the work has been completed in it or not. So let us now see whether the database has been created through this Python code or not in MySQL. So I go to show database and we see employee DET is created. So I'll go into employee DET now to understand whether employee DET has been created and even that EMP table has been created within employee DET or not. So we go to employee DET. Now I want to write show table. So as I write show tables, what happens? See, EMP table has been created. Now if I want to see what has been there within EMP table, or if I want to see the structure of the EMP table, so we'll write describe EMP. See, the structure is whatever we had given. Now if I want to see if there is any record within it, so we'll write select star from EMP, and you see the record which we have written in Python gets inserted here. So students, did you see how we write programs of connectivity? This is how we write programs of connectivity. Here what we have done, we have connected Python with MySQL and we are creating things from Python into MySQL. We are not retrieving data. So it is one type of one directional flow which we are showing. We are doing something in Python and it is coming in MySQL. Anything you want to do, that would work. Now this table is already created. If you want to insert more records in the table, you can create one more Python code or change this code only. Now as the table has already been created, I will delete this line to work further with that table. So I delete this line. I would write use, table has already been created, so I'll delete this line. Now we don't need to create more tables. Now suppose I want to insert one more record where I want the employee number to be 2001, name to be Sumit, and salary to be 4,000. It is so simple. The same type of code, MySQL.connector is to be imported. Connection has to be made using the MySQL connector, that is that statement mycon is equal to ms.connect, that line will work. Then I can write mycur is equal to mycon.cursor, the cursor will be created, and this time the cursor is being used for what? It is being used for inserting record of Sumit. I may rename it, I may not. I may rename the file, I may not. I would rename it because I want the first given code to be there, existing there with me. So I'll rename it by a new name. I'll write it my second con. My second con. So this is a new code I have written. Its name is my second code con, and now I will press F5 to run it. It runs, and if you go to MySQL and want to see whether the new given record has been inserted or not, you can see it. See, it has been inserted. So simple to work with. The same type of code, and within .execute whatever you want. So students, please see that given code. In board exams, such a code may be asked, and it is so easy. You will have to write 4 or 5 lines and you'll get marks for it. All those lines which are required are there in that given code. Now, if you want to delete a line, what to do? Nothing. If you want to even delete a line or delete a record, you'll have to write this. Delete from EMP, where maybe you want to delete the record of the man whose name is Amit. So you'll write this. So simple. Whatever you want, you can do. Run it and see. But before running, let me make it, because I have changed the code. I want to keep it for my use. So I'll write my third con. Any name I can give. My third con I'm writing, and I am running it. So I run it. Again works. So delete also works. If you want to see it, see. Record has been deleted. Now suppose students, I want to add one more field in this table. Can I do it from Python? Let us see whether I can do it from Python or not. So to do it, what to do? We write this sort of alter table. Name of the table is emp. Add. What to add? I want, say, a field commission that is also of decimal type, and what, maybe 5,2 we want it to have. So we write this and let us see whether it works or not for me. So I run it, but before running, maybe I write the name as my fourth con. Name is not important, the code is important, students. I'm renaming it by a new name so that it gets saved in my computer. So I'll use save as. I'll write my fourth con. So you are seeing, student, I'm using delete statement, which is a DML, student. That also works. We are using alter statement. Let us see whether it works or not. And it is a DDL statement. Earlier we used create statement. That was a DDL, that is data definition language statement. So data definition language statement, data queries, that is select statements, and DMLs, data manipulation language, such as update, delete, all can be done using Python into MySQL. We can do these things into MySQL from Python. So I have written it my fourth con. Now I run it. Again it works. Let me see whether that new thing has been added or not. So for that I'll write DESC EMP and we'll see whether it works or not. See, it is added. Commission has been added. No problem in it. Now I want to put 100 rupees commission to all the given employees. So I'll put 100 rupees commission from Python. Again, let us go here and we'll, instead of writing alter, now I want to update. I want to put 100 rupees commission to all. So I'll write update emp set commission is equal to 100 rupees. This much I want to write. Update emp set commission is equal to 100 rupees. Now when I have not given any where clause, it will be given to each and every given employee. Now let me write it as, save it as my fifth con. So see, codes are same, only the select statements are changing according to needs. So connectivity is so easy. You need to learn how to write the first few lines till you come to mycurd.execute, and within execute whatever is required, you can do that. Now save it. I save it. So as I saved it, now I need to run it. So I run it. It works. See, no errors. So if I go to MySQL and see whether changes have been done or not, and if I write select star from EMP, you see one employee was there because the other had been deleted and he gets 100 rupees. No problem in it. So students, you saw how things can be so easily done in Python, and things what you are doing in Python actually gets done in MySQL due to connectivity. Now students, we'll move further in this video. The video will be used now. I'll use this video to extract. Now what we did, everything we wrote in Python and whatever we wrote in Python happened in MySQL. Now what I will do is, I will now try to retrieve data. Whichever data is in MySQL, I want to retrieve data from MySQL into my Python screen. Now how to retrieve data, let us see. I may write select statement to retrieve data. I'll write select star from EMP. So as I write select star from EMP, what will happen? Everything would come from MySQL. Everything that is in the table. Which table? In EMP table in MySQL. Now student, there is only one record in this table. Let us put few more records, but this time from MySQL only. So insert into EMP values. What record? Suppose I want to put a record 3001. Name is Ajay and his salary is 9,000 suppose. and his commission is say 900 rupees. So let us do it. One row created, maybe one more row I want, where employee ID is 4001, name is Amar, he gets say 10,000 and he gets a commission of say 1,000, and I do it. See, commissions range, it is out of range because we said 5,2, so it should be within 1,000. So we give it 999. So 999. Now it works. So how many given records we have? We have 3 records now. I created these 2 records directly in MySQL without using Python, no problem. Now what I do is I come to Python and here I try to retrieve the data which we have in MySQL in the table EMP from Python. So what I have written, select star from EMP. Students, what it did, that vehicle which went from Python to MySQL, that is the cursor which went from Python to MySQL and retrieved the data, that cursor would have, while executing this program, the cursor would have brought that data, but it has not dumped that data in MySQL. It has not emptied that data of MySQL in Python. What it means? I have 3 records. When I went and executed this code where it was written select star from EMP, so whatever were there in MySQL, that normally gets shown in the MySQL screen, but this time it is not to be shown in the MySQL screen because we are in Python. So from Python I want to see it, but it will not be shown in MySQL screen. It will be actually given to the cart, that is the cursor which has gone from Python to MySQL to execute this code. So it gets loaded in that cart and it comes here. So it gets loaded in cursor and it comes to Python. Now Python has to empty it. How Python will empty it? I should say Python has to fetch it. How Python would fetch it? Python would fetch it by writing some important given code. There are 3 important functions to fetch things which comes from MySQL into Python. And what are these functions? It is fetch one, fetch all, and fetch many. So these are the 3 functions, students: fetch one, fetch all, and fetch many. So if you know these 3 functions, then only you can see whatever has been brought by that select star from EMP. How do I write fetch one or fetch all or fetch many? Let us see. So we'll write here my record is equal to my cur, because it has been fetched using the cursor. So my cur is the name of the cursor, and from cursor I would fetch it. I'll write fetch one first. Now what fetch one does? Fetch one actually fetches the first record. It fetches only one record, and which record? The first record. How we'll see? We'll write print, whatever has been fetched will be stored in my record. So we'll print my record. See, we print my record. Let us run this, students. Let us see. Now, do we want to do any changes in Python? No. So this line is not required. mycon.commit is not required. So I'll delete this line here, because now we don't want to insert anything. We don't want to update anything. This program actually is only to fetch the records from MySQL into Python. So I'll name this as my, I think, 6th file. So save as my 6th file, or my 6th con, I should say, 6th con. And let us see how it works. I run it. See, the first record comes because we used fetch one. So when we use fetch one, only one record comes, and it is the first record. Okay. If we put it in a loop, one record at a time would come. So if I put it in a loop, how shall I put it in a loop? Let us see. We will not put it in a loop. We'll understand only whatever is required for board exam. We'll only write fetch one, and we'll understand fetch one brings one record or fetches one record from the cursor, from the cart. The cursor has all the three records, but fetch one will only empty one record from the cart. Now, if I want everything to be emptied and shown on the screen, what we shall write? Let us see. We shall write fetch all. Fetch all. And now when I write fetch all, we don't have one record, we have many records. If I run this code, what would happen now? All the records would be shown. See, every record is being shown, but it is not being shown in a proper way. It is being shown line by line, line wise. If I want to see it one by one, I need to write a few more things here. I'll write like this. What I'll write, instead of print my record, I will write for I in my record. I think students, you are understanding. Print I. Okay. And end is equal to /n for a new line. Let us now run it. You have seen this code. Let us now run it. So I run it. So see, it comes line by line and every record has been fetched. So fetch one fetches one record at a time. Fetch all fetches all the records that has come in the card, that has come in the cursor, that has been loaded by MySQL in the cursor. So I think you have understood, students. Now, the third thing that I said was fetch many. Now, what is fetch many? Fetch many would be used for fetching more than one records. But we will write how many? Maybe we want two records. So we'll write fetch within fetch many 2. Now, if I run this, how many records came? Only 2 records, because within fetch many we can give the count. That is how many records we want. So count can be given. Now students, there is one more statement keyword which we can use here, that is known as row count. Now what does row count do? Row count actually counts the number of rows that has been executed, that has been affected by the execute method. That means the number of rows that has come from MySQL into Python, that will be shown. So how will show row count? I'll see row count. We'll write the code for seeing the row count as this. Let us see how I'll write. I'll write this. Print mycur. Oh, it is writing like this. Write print mycur dot row count. So I'm writing print mycur as row count. That is mycur dot row count. So we'll see whether it works or not. Row count works or not. Is there any problem in row count? We'll see. So it works. How many by fetch many? 2. If I had used, instead of fetch many, if I had used, say, fetch 1. So what would be the value of row count? That means how many records were loaded by MySQL into the cart or into the cursor using fetch 1. That is how many records have been fetched. 1 record, see, 1 record has been fetched. At last, it is writing 1 after writing the details of the record that has been fetched. Now, if we use now fetch all, so it shows 3. So it means from MySQL, we have brought all the records, but the number of records that has been fetched, that value is written in the variable row count, in the keyword row count. So students, I think you have understood this. You have understood how fetching can be done. You have understood how we can actually create a database, how we can create a table, how we can insert record, how we can delete record, how we update record, how we change the structure of the table. So all these things now you understand. It is so easy. We should have a line which imports MySQL connector. We should have a line to make the connection. We should have a line to create the cursor, and then all those lines should be executed by the execute function, which are actually required to be done. And the statements that need to be executed are written as SQL statements within execute function. Lastly, we should close the connection and our program completes. So I think students have understood, and this is very important for board exam. This is very important for board exam. I will provide one more video which will talk of MySQL parameterized query program. So we'll talk of MySQL parameterized query program. That would be a second video which I'll show to you. So students, for today, we keep it here only. Have a very nice day ahead. Thank you.